When God wants you to stay connected to someone, there is often an undeniable emotional bond that persists, even if circumstances seem to suggest that it's time to move on. This connection is unlike any other. It runs deep and cannot easily be explained by logic or reason. You may have tried to distance yourself from the person, perhaps even convinced yourself that it's best to let go. Yet, despite all of your efforts to move on, you find yourself constantly thinking about them, yearning for their presence, or even feeling a pull to reconnect. This emotional connection is a powerful indication that God is trying to communicate something profound, something beyond what you can see or understand in the moment. It's essential to recognize that emotional connections, especially the ones that seem unexplainable, often have divine origins. They are not simply the result of random chance or fleeting feelings, but rather they reflect a deeper purpose and intention. In the context of relationships, God may use these emotions to guide you back to someone important in your life. When this bond exists, it is often a sign that there is something still left to learn, experience, or fulfill in your connection with that person. You may find that no matter how much time has passed or how many attempts you've made to let go, these feelings linger and grow stronger. This emotional pull is not just about personal desire or attraction, it's about a deeper spiritual alignment. Often we find ourselves deeply connected to people in our lives because of a shared purpose that transcends physical attraction or intellectual compatibility. There is a sense of destiny in these connections, a knowing that your paths have crossed for a reason. These relationships might challenge you, push you to grow, and force you to confront your own fears and insecurities, but they also hold the potential for incredible spiritual growth. When you try to move on and yet feel an overwhelming sense of longing, it can be frustrating. You may question why, despite everything, you can't seem to let go. This persistent connection is often a sign that God is calling you to stay connected to this person, even when it seems like you should be moving forward. It's easy to think that your emotions are simply misguided or that your heart is leading you down the wrong path, but in many cases, it's actually a divine message, one that requires patience and trust. Understanding that this emotional connection is more than just a passing feeling helps you to approach the situation with greater clarity. It can be a sign that God has a plan for you and this person, a plan that is still unfolding. Sometimes these connections aren't meant to be severed quickly or easily, but rather nurtured over time as you both evolve. The emotional bond that remains, even when you try to walk away, might be God's way of saying that there is more to be done in this relationship. It's not just about physical attraction or fleeting moments of joy. It's about a long-term vision that God has for both of you. The emotional connection that endures might be the very thing that keeps you tethered to someone. It's the feeling of missing them, thinking about them when you least expect it, or finding yourself drawn back to them no matter how far apart you drift. These feelings, while sometimes inconvenient or perplexing, can be signs that God has a purpose in mind for your relationship with that person. It's not just about what you want or desire. It's about God guiding you through an emotional and spiritual process that has the potential to change both of your lives. When you find yourself caught in the grip of this kind of emotional bond, it's important to acknowledge it as something significant. These feelings are not to be ignored or dismissed. They are God's way of gently reminding you that your connection with this person is not accidental or temporary. It's something that matters, something that requires attention and care. It's about allowing yourself to trust in the divine timing of your relationship and in the process that is unfolding before you. As you experience these emotional connections, try to quiet the noise around you. Turn inward and ask yourself what this bond means in the greater context of your life. Is it simply about love and affection, or is there something deeper at play? Trust in the emotions that surface, even if they don't make sense at first. In time, you'll begin to see how these feelings are guiding you towards something greater than you could have ever imagined. And ultimately, this emotional connection could be the key to unlocking a divine purpose in your life, one that has been carefully planned out. step by step by God. Understanding that the emotional connection you feel is not by accident can bring you peace in the midst of uncertainty. You don't have to force yourself to move on or let go if your heart is not ready. God's timing is perfect, and when it is the right time for you and this person to come together, that deep emotional bond will be your guide. In the meantime, trust that this connection is not meaningless, but instead part of a larger plan that you are still uncovering. God's message for you may be to stay the course, to nurture the relationship, and to trust that in time, everything will fall into place. When God is sending you signs to stay connected to someone, it's not just about emotional pull or attraction, it's often about the growth and healing that can only happen when you remain in a certain relationship. Relationships can be one of the most transformative experiences in life, but only if both people are open to the lessons they bring. God's guidance often works through relationships to teach lessons that are crucial for spiritual development. Sometimes it's not the time to move on because the relationship you're in holds something important, something God is trying to work out in both of you. These relationships are meant to help you heal, grow, and become the person you are destined to be. Moving on too quickly could prevent you from receiving these blessings. When God is telling you not to move on, there is usually a lesson that hasn't been fully learned or a healing process that is still in progress. If you're feeling conflicted about moving forward or letting go, it's possible that you haven't reached the point where God is ready for you to move on. In these moments, patience and trust in God's timing are essential. Sometimes, God's signs indicate that the healing and growth are still unfolding, and you need to remain where you are for a while to truly experience the transformation that this relationship can bring. Relationships often mirror the internal struggles and growth we are undergoing. If you are constantly being drawn back to someone, it's a sign that there is work to be done, not just on the relationship, but within yourself. God works in mysterious ways, and sometimes what seems like a setback or an ongoing struggle is part of a much bigger plan. Perhaps the person you're being drawn back to has a lesson to teach you about forgiveness, patience, or self-worth. God may be using this connection as a tool to help you grow in ways you never anticipated. It's essential to stay open to these experiences because they might be the key to your personal evolution. The signs that God is telling you not to move on from someone may also be related to the idea of divine timing. Often, when we think it's time to let go, we may be rushing the process because we feel impatient or frustrated. However, God works in perfect timing, and there may be moments or events that need to happen before you and this person are fully aligned. Rushing to move on from them before God's plan has fully unfolded could prevent you from receiving the blessings that are meant to come from this connection. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we know what's best for us, but when we surrender to God's plan, we open ourselves up to the incredible possibilities that He has for our relationships. There's also the possibility that God is allowing you to experience a relationship for a specific purpose that you don't yet understand. It could be that there are things in this relationship that need to be addressed, healed, or resolved before you can fully move forward in your life. These unresolved issues might not be about the other person, but rather about your own growth. God may be showing you the importance of letting go of past hurts, forgiving yourself, or working through old emotional baggage. Sometimes the person you're connected to is merely a reflection of the internal work that needs to happen. And only by staying in the relationship will you be able to complete that work. As difficult as it may be to stay connected to someone when all your instincts are telling you to move on, it's crucial to understand that God's plan for your life often involves much more than you can see. The lessons and the healing you gain from staying in a particular relationship may not be immediately clear, but in time you will begin to understand the wisdom of God's guidance. Trusting in this process requires faith, even when it doesn't make sense in the moment. God's messages aren't always delivered in ways we expect, but they are always meant for our good. When you begin to feel that pull to stay, even when you think it's time to move on, Take a step back and reflect on what God might be teaching you. Are there patterns in your life that need to be addressed? Are there parts of your character that need to be refined? Often, relationships challenge us in ways that we would never expect, but those challenges are exactly what prepare us for the next phase of our journey. It's important not to rush the process of healing, growing, and learning from each relationship. Sometimes the most profound transformations happen when we are willing to sit with discomfort, reflect on our lessons, and stay present in the relationship until the right time comes. Ultimately, when God is telling you not to move on from someone, it's a reminder to trust in His timing. Trust that the relationship, while challenging, has a purpose that you may not yet fully understand. By surrendering your own timeline and allowing God to guide you through the process, you will find yourself more at peace with your choice. God's signs often ask us to slow down, reflect, and remain open to the growth that can only happen through patience and faith. And in the end, this trust in His guidance will lead to the clarity and understanding you need to move forward when the time is right. When you feel God is telling you not to move on from someone, it's often because there's something important left for both of you in that relationship. Relationships are rarely just about companionship. They are often the vessels through which God teaches us critical lessons, whether about ourselves or about the other person. There's often something that needs to be learned, healed, or understood before either of you can move forward. At times, God will place someone in your life to teach you something profound, and that lesson is not always easy or comfortable. But these lessons are often deeply transformative and necessary for your personal and spiritual growth. The relationship you're questioning may seem challenging, but sometimes challenges are the very means by which God works to shape you. In those moments when you are tempted to walk away or distance yourself, it is important to take a step back and reflect on why you are feeling that pull. It's easy to want to let go because of frustration, hurt, or fear. But those feelings can cloud your judgment. It's during such times that God's voice may be the most difficult to hear, especially when it feels like everything is urging you to move on. But the signs from God often come in the form of invitations to slow down, to reassess, and to give more attention to the relationship. The truth is that moving on too quickly can sometimes result in missing out on the very things God intended for you to learn. For instance, you might be struggling with forgiveness or trust, and the relationship may offer you the opportunity to learn those very virtues. Or perhaps you've been hurt by past relationships, and this current situation is meant to help you heal from those wounds. The person you're with might be a mirror reflecting areas in your life where you need to grow. This doesn't mean that the person is perfect, but they could be a crucial part of your journey, teaching you things that only this relationship can bring. In these moments, it's important to trust that God's guidance comes from a place of love and wisdom. He sees what we cannot see, and He knows what we need, even when we may not understand it. God's timing is never wrong. While we might feel overwhelmed or tempted to act impulsively, we must remember that what is meant for us will come at the right time. So when you feel God pulling you back into a relationship that you want to leave, take the time to ask yourself whether you are leaving for the right reasons. Are you walking away because of unresolved issues that need to be worked through? Are you choosing to leave because of fear or impatience, rather than because it's truly time to move on? When God is asking you to stay, He is likely offering you the space and time to do the internal work needed for growth and healing. Another reason why God might be urging you to stay in a relationship is that there's a greater purpose at play that is not immediately clear to you. We don't always understand the full picture of our lives and how different people fit into the puzzle of our destiny. But God sees everything. He knows how this relationship fits into the larger scope of your life and how it might help shape you into the person you're meant to become, even when it's hard, even when it feels like walking away might be easier. The deeper purpose often lies in staying put and seeing what lessons unfold. trusting that God's plan is far better than our own is essential during these times. Moreover, relationships are rarely static. They require work, patience, and commitment. If God is signaling to you that it's not time to move on, it might be because this relationship still holds the potential for growth, and sometimes growth takes time. You might feel discouraged or exhausted by the constant struggles, but it's often through these struggles that we grow the most. Giving up prematurely can rob you of the opportunity to experience the transformation that only overcoming challenges together can bring. The beauty of staying in a relationship when God is calling you to do so is that it allows space for healing, learning, and true emotional depth. These experiences often lead to an even stronger bond and a relationship that could become a powerful source of mutual growth. In the end, God is guiding you to understand the deeper reasons behind the connection you have with this person. It's not always about the surface level emotions or the immediate challenges. Sometimes the relationship you're in is the key to unlocking a better version of yourself. God may be allowing you to go through difficult seasons together to help you both build the resilience, strength, and compassion that will serve you in the future. He's asking you to stay not because it's going to be easy, but because it's going to be transformative. By trusting His signs and leaning into His guidance, you will uncover the deeper purpose and the incredible potential this relationship has to offer. Sometimes the most profound growth comes not when we walk away, but when we decide to stay and allow ourselves to be shaped by the process. When God is guiding you to stay in a relationship, it is often because there are deeper lessons to be learned that you may not immediately understand. These lessons might be hard to see at first, especially when emotions are clouding your judgment or when there are difficulties in the relationship. However, staying when God tells you to stay offers the potential for tremendous growth. It's through these relationships that God often teaches us about resilience, patience, understanding, and unconditional love. Relationships are not always easy. They are dynamic, evolving, and often require hard work from both parties. But when God is telling you to stay, He is asking you to trust that there is more to be gained than simply walking away. Relationships are opportunities for us to grow, both as individuals and as a team. We learn more about who we are, what we want, and how to navigate the complexities of human connection. It's through the struggles and challenges that relationships bring that we become more refined and learn the lessons God is trying to impart to us. One of the key aspects of God's guidance in relationships is the timing. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own understanding or plans. In those moments when you feel unsure about staying in the relationship, God may be asking you to trust the process. It's easy to get caught up in our desires for immediate outcomes and easy solutions, but growth rarely happens overnight. Staying in the relationship when God is telling you to do so gives you the opportunity to experience that growth. It's through the patience and endurance that you develop during difficult times that you learn to appreciate the beauty of the relationship and the lessons that come with it. God's guidance also extends beyond the challenges and struggles we face. When God tells you to stay, it might also be because there is something in the relationship that needs to be nurtured and developed. Not every relationship is meant to be perfect from the start. Sometimes relationships require time, understanding, and patience to truly flourish. God's plan often unfolds gradually, and by staying in the relationship, you give yourself the chance to witness that transformation. You might be surprised at how the relationship deepens when you allow space for growth, change, and healing. Moreover, God often brings people into our lives for specific purposes. Each person we encounter plays a role in shaping us, whether it's helping us to heal past wounds, teaching us valuable life lessons, or showing us how to love in new ways. If God is telling you not to move on from someone, it may be because this person is part of His plan for your life. Sometimes relationships are designed to help you become a better version of yourself. The individual might challenge you in ways that force you to confront your weaknesses or to develop skills you didn't know you needed. These experiences, though sometimes difficult, are designed to help you become more complete, more whole, and more prepared for what God has in store for you. Additionally, when God tells you not to move on, it's often a call to recognize the potential in the relationship that you may not have fully realized. Sometimes we fail to see the hidden blessings in relationships because we are too focused on the immediate challenges. But by staying, you give yourself the opportunity to see that person as they truly are, not as an obstacle, but as a partner who has the potential to bring out the best in you. It is through relationships that we often find the true meaning of love, trust, and commitment. By honoring God's guidance to stay, we are showing our commitment not just to the person, but to the larger plan that God has for our lives. The difficulty of staying, especially when you're tempted to walk away, often reveals the strength of your character and the depth of your faith. When God asks you to stay, it's a test of your trust in Him and His plan for your life. It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate that your faith in God transcends your own desires for comfort or ease. Staying in a relationship when God has called you to do so is an act of faith, a belief that, in the end, His plan will bring about the best possible outcome for both of you. In the end, God's guidance to stay in a relationship is about so much more than the present moment. It's about preparing you for a future that you can't yet see, but that God already knows. It's about learning the necessary lessons, building the right foundation, and growing as a person and as a partner. When you stay in the relationship, trusting in God's plan, you allow yourself to be shaped by His love and wisdom. You may not always understand the reasons behind God's instructions, but by staying obedient, you open yourself to the transformative power of His guidance. When God is telling you to stay in a relationship, He is often guiding you toward a deeper understanding of love, commitment, and sacrifice. This direction is not only about preserving the bond you have with the other person, but also about helping you grow and develop into a better version of yourself. Relationships are powerful instruments of transformation, and sometimes we need to experience the challenges and complexities of love in order to truly appreciate it. And when God is confirming that you should stay, it is because there are valuable lessons that need to be learned, and these lessons will shape the way you approach your future and relationships. At the heart of every meaningful relationship is the foundation of trust and mutual respect. Often God's guidance to stay isn't about ignoring the flaws or issues within the relationship, but about learning how to handle them with grace. God wants you to understand that no relationship is perfect, but through perseverance and dedication, the relationship can grow stronger. The challenges that arise are opportunities to deepen your trust in each other and in God. This process helps build resilience in the relationship and ensures that you and your partner can weather future storms together. One significant reason God may tell you to stay is because the relationship holds potential for deep, lasting growth. In the midst of challenges, we are often pushed to examine our behaviors, habits, and attitudes. Staying in the relationship allows you to work through these issues, making both you and your partner better individuals in the long run. It may be easy to give up when things are hard, but God's confirmation to stay encourages you to dig deeper and discover the strength you never knew you had. This growth isn't always easy, but it is always worthwhile. Sometimes God's purpose in guiding you to stay is to help you develop a greater understanding of unconditional love. True love requires sacrifice, patience, and selflessness. God may want you to stay in the relationship to learn how to love in a way that is unconditional and not based on superficial desires or expectations. It is through the trials and tribulations of relationships that we come to understand the depth of love and the importance of loving without conditions. The love you experience in a relationship that God confirms for you is not based on convenience, but on a deeper commitment that reflects the love He has for all of us. In addition to love, relationships often teach us the importance of forgiveness. It is easy to hold grudges or allow small mistakes to fester, but when God tells you to stay, He is encouraging you to embrace the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a crucial component of any relationship, as it allows both parties to move forward and heal. It is through forgiveness that the bond between you and your partner can be strengthened, as it demonstrates your willingness to let go of past hurts and build a healthier, more loving future together. Furthermore, staying in a relationship when God is guiding you to do so can teach you the importance of timing and patience. There are moments in relationships when things don't unfold the way we expect them to, and it can be tempting to rush or force an outcome. However, God's guidance often works in His own perfect timing, and by staying in the relationship, you are learning to trust that timing. The growth that both you and your partner undergo is part of a process, and it may take time before you can see the full picture. Through patience, you will come to realize that God's plan for your relationship is better than anything you could have imagined on your own. The act of staying, especially when you are unsure, requires a great deal of faith. It is an acknowledgement that you trust God's wisdom and plan for your life, even if you cannot see it in the present moment. When you choose to stay, you are saying that you believe God has a purpose for your relationship, and you are willing to be obedient to His calling. This act of faith is powerful and speaks to your trust in God's ability to guide you through the ups and downs of life. Lastly, staying when God has confirmed it for you can bring you closer to both your partner and to God. As you work through the challenges together, you may find that your connection deepens and your relationship becomes more grounded in faith and love. You may also find that your relationship with God strengthens as you rely on His guidance and trust in His wisdom. Through these experiences, you will become more attuned to God's voice and better able to discern His direction in all areas of your life. When God is confirming that you should stay in a relationship, it's a call to trust His plan, grow through the challenges, and deepen your understanding of love, forgiveness, and patience. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. By staying, you open yourself up to the transformative power of God's love and the lessons He wants to teach you. This act of faith will shape your future and your relationship in ways that you may not yet understand, but it is through this journey that you will experience the fullness of God's plan for your life. When God is guiding you to stay in a relationship, He is often working through both of you, pushing you toward spiritual growth, deeper understanding, and a sense of purpose. The ability to stay in a relationship, even when it is challenging or uncertain, requires a commitment to something greater than just feelings or temporary circumstances. It is a call to align your will with God's and trust that He is using this relationship for His divine plan. This process of staying can often lead to a profound transformation, not just in the relationship, but in your individual lives as well. One powerful reason God may want you to stay in a relationship is that He is using it to shape your character and help you develop the qualities necessary to fulfill His plan for you. Relationships are mirrors that reflect both our strengths and our weaknesses. Through your interactions, you may discover aspects of your personality that need refinement, whether it's patience, humility, empathy, or emotional resilience. God can use the circumstances of your relationship to teach you how to be a better person, partner, and follower of Christ. For many, staying in a relationship during difficult times challenges personal comfort and forces growth. Often God asks us to move beyond our comfort zones, and relationships are the perfect context in which to do this. When you are confronted with disagreements or difficult conversations, you may feel the temptation to retreat or give up. However, God may be calling you to stay and work through these issues with grace, kindness, and a willingness to learn from one another.